Hi everyone, and welcome to the next episode of Cooking Lessons at Shelter Harbor. Today we're going to do pad thai. We're going to do shrimp pad thai. It's a really fun dish that people really like, and I'm going to walk you through it. There are some pitfalls to pad thai that you sometimes see when you're out. For example, sometimes the dish is too wet, or sometimes the dish will be a little bit too dry, or sometimes the noodles will be mushy and not have any texture. So there's ways you can manage your dish to make sure that doesn't happen. And if you do that, you're sure to make this dish come out well. We're going to start off with the noodles. And these are rice stick noodles. They are sort of the fettuccine sized noodle. They're a little thinner than fettuccine. And they're made out of rice. And the best way to sort of cook these noodles is to pour warm water over them and just let them sit. And this method gives you a lot of control because you can check in on them as they soften. So we're just going to leave those there, and they're going to take a few minutes. And when you check your noodles, you want them to have not exactly a bite, an al dente bite, but some chew to them. The next thing we're going to think about is making our broth. I have some very nice minced ginger and some minced garlic. I have some scallion. These are sort of the bases of our flavors. I have white soy. It has much lighter color than regular soy, so it won't make your dish dark. And I have fish sauce, which gives it that characteristic sort of fishy smell. When it comes to the table, you're like, ah, that's pad thai. I have ground red chili flakes. So these are the same chili flakes that you put on pizza, but if you grind them in your spice mill, you get a really nice heat that's authentic and appropriate for the dish. Then toward the end of the dish, I'll have some herbs and bean sprouts and things like that. I also have some tamarind paste. Tamarind paste has nice fruitiness to it, as well as a little bitterness. So you can really see this little broth taking all the directions. Now we're going to start making our dish, and we're going to use, I'm going to use a little bit of olive oil for our saute. You could use peanut oil. Peanut oil doesn't actually taste that much like peanuts. So I try to use olive oil for things that aren't going to be a blazing hot saute, mostly because I know olive oil is good for you. So I'm just going to put about a tablespoon of olive oil. And I'm going to handle the first couple things that are a little bit of a difficult step. I'm going to handle them all by themselves and not try and manage them as I'm handling the noodles and the broth. And by separating the steps like this, you're not going to wind up in a situation where you have to rush. Our pan's getting hot. The first thing I'm going to do is saute these little shrimps. I've taken the tails off. I'm going to add a little bit of egg. Those are two of the proteins in the dish. You can do tofu. I chose not to for this one. Shrimps are in. And we're going to let those go a bit. Normally I would put a little salt and pepper in the dish, but this has a lot of salty ingredients, so it won't need it. And it has the heat from the red pepper flakes that we're going to get. So I'm just going to saute them just to themselves. And as I saute these, I'm just wanting to get them pretty much just about cooked. This is really going to save us some stress as we're bringing up the rest of the dish. Flip them over. Give them a bit more time. So you'll find a lot of recipes for pad thai that really try to have you hustle up the dish in its entirety, all in one swoop. And I think you'll find that if you break it down to these little smaller steps, that you won't find yourself nervously fighting with all these ingredients. So here we go. I'm going to put a little egg in there. And we got the little scrambled egg thing going with the shrimp. And we're good. I'm just going to take them out to a little resting plate here. All right, I have most of the ingredients all chopped and ready to go, but I did leave the little Napa cabbage leaves unchopped. These are really nice. I've washed them and lined them up nicely. And this will be more than I need. Most of all these ingredients will be a little bit more than I need. You don't want to stop right in the middle of making your pad thai and have to do it again. So we're just going to lay these out on the board, nice and straight. And we're just going to do a nice little chiffonade of those. And they'll be thin and nice and they'll kind of mesh right in there with the noodles as little bits of crunchy vegetable. Back into the bowl. And now we're ready to start making our broth. What I love about making the broth all to itself is there's not going to be any problems with ginger or garlic overcooking in the broth. So you can really, once you saute your ginger and garlic and build your broth, you can really take your time and taste your broth and make sure that you're real happy with your broth. And if you're happy with your broth, then you sort of know that the whole dish is going to taste good when you're done. So here we go with a little olive oil again. We got some nice minced garlic, and that's probably about a teaspoon and a half. And this is about a teaspoon and a half of minced ginger. And get those going. This is sort of for one healthy order of pad thai. So you do some multiplying if you're going to do it for the whole family. And we're just going to saute those up a bit. And it is, a strong amount of aromatics, and it'll be a little bit strong, but it's not a real soft-hearted dish. It's a dish that definitely has some strength to it. So now I'm just going to deglaze our pan with a splash of water. The reason is that most of what happens when I do that first pour is it evaporates off, and I have all these nice expensive ingredients, and I don't want them to all evaporate off and disappear. So now I've got a little bit of white soy. That's going to give us some salty. A little bit of lime juice. A little bit of fish sauce. You have to be careful with items like fish sauce and white soy because they're going to be very strong. A little bit of tamarind. This one is nice and fruity and not particularly bitter. Sometimes it is pretty bitter, so you have to watch out for that. And one of the reasons you have to make this broth to itself is these ingredients vary somewhat, so it really gives you time to taste and adjust. A little bit of tamarind, a little bit of the chili flakes, a little bit of sugar to balance out the tamarind. Personally, I don't like a lot of sugar in the dish. And now I'm going to turn it on. If I was going a little faster, I might have left it on the whole time. But since I was stopping to explain, or for any reason you want to turn it off just to make sure you got it under control, you can just turn it off. Okay, the pan works for you. So now it's all coming together. All right, I'm going to put some scallion in there. Kind of a healthy amount of scallion. That's probably a tablespoon and a half. I'm turning it off again. So we're just going to stir that around a little bit. And I'm just going to give it the first check to see where it is. Wow, that's actually pretty strong and pretty darn good. I'm thinking that I'll go with a teeny bit more of the white soy. Got plenty of fish, got plenty of heat, maybe a little bit more sugar. The heat is strong. The fishy sauce is strong. The lime is strong. I'm going to go a teeny bit more lime. And now I'm going to be happy with it. Fresh spoon. That's good. All right, so we've got our nice broth in the pan, and our noodles are still a little bit hard, and that's okay. One of the things that you can realize about the noodles is it's okay for them to be a little underdone at this point because you can finish them in the pan. But if they've gone too far, you can't go backwards. The other thing about this approach is the only stuff that's in this pan right now are items that can cook a little more and be perfectly fine. The shrimp's not in the pan, the egg's not in the pan, and the cabbage is not in the pan. So we're just going to turn the pan back on, and we're going to lift out about a portion's worth of noodles. You can kind of visualize it. It'll grow just a little bit as it finishes cooking. I'm going to put it in the pan. we're just going to let it cook a little bit in the pan. And I really liked the consistency of the sauce before it reduced, so since I know it's going to reduce, I'm just going to splash a little bit more water and use this water to boil off and cook the pasta. And our noodles are bubbling away nicely. Sometimes you'll have these nervous feelings like, are they going to cook? They will cook. We'll give it a couple flips. Go ahead and take one noodle out and try it. They're coming along very nicely. They have a little bit of chew, maybe just a little too much, so we're almost there. Now I can see that we're getting close. The bubbles around the pan are nice and big, meaning it's all viscous and cooked down. And I'm going to go in with a healthy amount of this cabbage. And the cabbage is going to cook a little bit, but not too much, which is good. I'm going to go in with the shrimp and eggs. Grab a fresh bowl of the plate. Now, a lot of you know that in shrimp pad thai, the topper is a little bit of peanuts and herbs and bean sprouts, but since they're a topper, I like to get a little bit of them in there as well. I always feel a little bit disingenuous when I have something on the top that's not really in the dish. So I put a little bit in there. All the right things going on here. And here we're going to plate. We'll lift the noodles out first and put those in the center. And then we're going to sort of have all the little goodies all on there. We're going to do our peanuts on the top, which give the dish some great crunch. Some nice cilantro leaves. Some nice mint. And not everyone uses mint, but I like to use it. And a couple of lime wedges. And there you have it.